Any holiday plans? We're getting into the. Let me ask you this: have you decorated your house for Christmas yet?
So while my son and grandson were home for Thanksgiving, they helped me put up the Christmas tree, which is the first. When my son was young at home, he would always help me, but he's been gone for many years, and now my grandson, who is 4, is now big enough to help. And so we had a fun time putting the tree up, and the grandson was excited about putting the ornaments on the tree. Of course, they were all on the last branch and all right next to each other, and I just kind of held my breath until he left so I could move them.
You took a picture though. I was like, look, just to show everybody. But they're all. I love that visual now.
Yep.
Let's take a second and have you properly introduce yourself. I want to get that out of the way too. Just give everybody, I mean, everybody knows you in community, but just let's get it on the record.
Okay, good. Connie Thompson. I am the Global Director of Intentional Technology at Alltech Incorporated. I'm focused on data, analytics, and reporting in my current role. And I have been a member of and a leader for the Kentucky user group since 2014.
And Alltech is this huge company, right? It's a big agricultural company, but it's got pretty wide reach. I'm always surprised at what they're up to.
So Alltech is a global company. We're headquartered in Nicholasville, Kentucky, which is right outside of Lexington. We have offices in about 100 countries around the world, and we have 3 different divisions. We make natural animal additives that go into feed for like food chain animals. We have a crop science division, which makes products that go on the soil or on the plants. And then we have a feed division that actually creates the feed that gets delivered to the farm for the farmer to feed his whether they're cows, dairy cows, beef cows, chicken, turkeys, all those turkeys we just had for Thanksgiving. Alltech would have fed a few of those.
All sustaining, life on Alltech feed. I love it. And did you make a beer or a whiskey or something too?
So that's the Lexington Brewing Company, and that is no longer a part of Alltech. It's still in the Lyons family. They still own and run that, but they've separated it from Alltech. But yes, if you go to the Alltech events, you'll find Kentucky Ale beer and Town Branch spirits there. It's Town Branch bourbon, actually. So yeah, that's kind of a fun part of the business, right?
Yeah. And if I'm not mistaken, I follow you on LinkedIn and see you posting. I see Alltech's posting and a lot of interesting stuff. I haven't yet watched it, but I have it still saved. At some point, I am going to watch it. This documentary on the cows.
A World Without Cows. Yes.
Yeah. It looked like a really interesting documentary and debate for sure. It was something again. I bookmarked it and looking forward to seeing that.
Yeah, 2 of the folks who work for Alltech, who in their previous life were journalists, photojournalists, and have various kinds of credentials in telling stories like that. And they went around the world to tell the story of what if we had a world without cows? Because of course, the big there's a lot of discussion today about the contributions of cow burps to our overall climate change, and it's a really interesting documentary. It's very thought-provoking. So it's not Alltech preaching about it. It's looking at a lot of different perspectives. A lot of it was learning about cows and how cows became a part of our society and a part of our food chain. I was surprised to learn, for example, that the vast majority of cows in the world are in Brazil and in India. I didn't realize that.
Interesting,
The USA is a great big country, and I expected we would be up there, right? And
sure, yeah.
That's not the case. So it's very thought-provoking, and we are slowly but surely getting it out there into the public for consumption, and our intention is to open some doors and have some conversations with folks who might not otherwise engage in the agricultural space.
Yeah. And the other thing I love about Alltech, again, that I've just seen through your post is it seems to be a very thoughtful and philanthropic company. The owners,
Yes.
the previous gentleman, the last name was
Dr.
Lyons,
Pierce
is that right?
Lyons, yes.
Yeah.
Dr.
And then
Pierce
his
Lyons
son.
is our founder.
Yep.
Yeah, and Dr. Mark Lyons is the current president. So
Yeah.
we have what we call the ACE Foundation, which stands for our ACE principle that we've had since the founding of Alltech. Whatever we do needs to be good for the animal, for the consumer, and the environment. That's what ACE stands for. And through
That's
our
really
ACE
nice.
Foundation, we support a lot of different good works, right? That for things from helping the folks in Western North Carolina and Eastern Tennessee after the Helene
Yeah.
hurricane came through and all the damage that did. That's one of the things that we're collecting money for as we speak to help those folks. Providing feed for their cattle, and because when you're in that kind of situation, you're worried about yourself and your family, and you're worried about your cows, but they're kind of number 2 and 3, right? So
Sure. Yeah.
yeah, so there's a lot of different things that the ACE Foundation supports, and it's kind of part of our ethos is that giving back, making sure that the world is a better place because we're in it.
That's awesome. I love that. And so this probably helped with you being a part of the community with this kind of mindset.
It does.
I assume you didn't get any resistance to saying, hey, I'm going to be doing this thing over here as part of a community organization.
No, not at all. In fact, I was encouraged to participate. Our former CIO, Tim Arthur, when we first started down this dynamics journey, he brought me right along with a couple of other folks in our organization, and said, we need to learn. We need to take advantage of all of the expertise that's in this group, and make sure that that we're getting something out of it for Alltech, but also in time, as we became more competent in the environment, that we gave back. We've done lots of presentations at Summit and other places. In fact, we had someone just at DynamicsCon, the virtual event.
Mm-hmm.
One of my colleagues in Ireland did a session on a chat bot that she created to help support our Dynamics products. Yeah. So, I mean, and my colleague Helen Fay is the Ireland chapter president. So I mean,
I'm definitely trying to get a pass to go to the next Ireland. Yeah, if I could just keep going to the European meetings, that's on my bucket list over here at Doug.
No, Alltech has been very, very encouraging and very supportive of me and others to participate in this community, and I'm thankful for that.
Yeah, I doubt there's resistance, but I think there's a difference in, I see the difference in like a company saying, oh yeah, do your thing, Bobby, or to your point, we're encouraging you. Yeah, we want to take advantage of all these opportunities to engage in community. It's not that we're just giving you the space, but we understand the value and really making a commitment to a community.
Mm-hmm. And there is a lot of value there, and that's why I think it's an excellent idea, especially if you're new to the Dynamics applications. There's so much expertise in that community. Like I said before, if you have a challenge or you have a problem, there's somebody out there who's been there and done that, and
they're so willing to help you.
Absolutely willing to help you. In fact, would seek you out and say, "How can I help?" Right?
Yeah.
So
you bet.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
if they see you at an event and you're crying in the corner, they're going to walk up and ask you, what part of Dynamics broke for you today? Let me help you out. It's going to be something. How do you keep people engaged at your meetings? Like, what's your top tip or trick? Like, what are you doing to keep? Because you've had a great group, since 2014, consistent. We talked about it. That sweet spot of 40 plus people showing up. That's kind of where you want to land, and you're keeping them engaged. What kind of things are you doing?
I think it comes down to the quality of the programs. I think that's the first reason that people would come, is that there's going to be something discussed that I have some reason to know about, right? That this will benefit me in my role, or it will benefit my company. And the second is the networking, the ability, like we just talked about, to sit down and talk with somebody who's been there and done that. The ability to say, we're going to be doing this. Have you any experience with that? Or have you worked with this company before? There's lots of good information that you get just from collaborating and networking with the group. And of course, like we said at the top, the friendships that you make. People keep coming back because they enjoy each other's company. That's another piece of it, right?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Colorado's become that, especially over, we came out of the pandemic in 2022 and tried to have an in-person meeting. Didn't really work. Took a break and came back again in 2023. And all of a sudden it just was the time. And since then, over the course of basically 2 years now, I think the group has really gelled with and become a much stronger, group of friends, which I think makes it easier to show up and participate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Trying to think of something I thought of there in the middle. Do you do any like when you're for networking? You mentioned before that was always a fun piece for me at big conferences when they'd have those tables set aside for either I was just talking to Rick McCutcheon about this too. Manufacturing table, commerce table, this table, or by state, or by here's all this, IT people, here's all the accountants, here's all the, just kind of breaking people apart in different ways to keep that, do you do any of that at your meetings, or you just kind of let it fly?
We have done that. I have gone so far as to put little table tents, right, based on what your interest is or what your role might be, and having those folks sit together. One of the very best meetings that we had, in Connie's opinion, one of the best meetings that we had was we set aside an hour of our meeting and said, this was an in-person meeting, and said, what topics do you want to discuss? What issues or challenges are you facing today that you want to discuss? And we took, suggestions, had probably, 5, 6 suggestions, and then they voted on the top 3, and we broke into 3 groups, whoever wanted to go to which, topic. Yep. And talk about it. And then when we finished all of that, we came back and somebody from each of those groups presented what the discussion was and what solutions, if any, they found. And I thought that went off really well, because people felt like they were being able to participate. First of all, they weren't just being talked to, they were participating, but also that they got answers to their questions, they got solutions to their problems. And I think that's one of the best things that you can do in these meetings, is to be able to provide that kind of value.
I think that's a great tip. I've done it at meetings before, where I've attended. And I thought you were going in a different direction, actually, which made me think of something else. In that, like, one thing that we always struggle with at the end of a meeting, you typically ask, "Hey, so we got meetings coming up. What kind of topics would you like to hear?" And it's like
nobody says a word.
And then you're like, "Okay, well, we'll think of it later." But I thought you were going there. I was like, "Hey, we're going to take 10 minutes, and we're going to break into groups and talk about topics," and that kind of forces you to, in a smaller, more intimate setting, maybe speak up and say, I didn't want to say it, but I'm really interested in cost accounting or whatever, and then bring those back up, and then we've got a really, like you said, a participatory activity that's engaging everybody, but you're getting the topics and you're getting some direction for your next meetings. But I also like your what you ended up with, which was another fun exercise.
Well, you make a good point in that not everybody is comfortable speaking up in a group, and I've gone so far as to create a list and hand it out, and everybody gets one, and just tick off the ones that you're interested in, and leave that for us so that we know what kinds of topics. Because you're right, when you ask, nobody says anything. I'm not sure why that is. Maybe just because they aren't thinking about it and you spring it on them. But at any rate, if you give them a time to think about it, if you give them an opportunity to maybe fill out that form or fill out a survey or whatever the case may be, that sometimes helps as well.
Yeah, and you also, I was just thinking about something else you said, which, we were at this meetup leadership, and somebody asked if people started the meeting by doing a introduction, and
Hmm.
we stopped doing that only because with 40 people, you end up,
Takes forever.
yeah, it takes forever, and you try to keep it to a second or two, but it just takes, it could eat up 30 minutes of your meeting time, um, and it's valuable, but I think you can get the same. But maybe there's a way to do it, uh, you know, without doing that, like having some pre-printed something, because we know everybody's coming. Perhaps if you're not, you can have somebody fill something out, but something bold and brash where you can connect even a greater. It's like, hey, here's the name printed out. Here's the LinkedIn. You can connect that way. Here's
Mhm.
all this, as opposed to a name badge, just like a little placard where they're sitting, and you can walk
Right.
out during break. It's like, oh, here's Connie. I want to connect with her. I'll just go ahead and connect on LinkedIn, and I can see this is what she does, and here's her favorite hobby, and just whatever. That you can do it on leisure during a networking and kind of get to know people without having to go through it. And remind me when you started.
So Alltech has been doing AX or Dynamics since version 4, so we've been around a while in this space. But in somewhere in 2009 or 10, we were attending convergences and became aware of the dynamic community group, Frank Vukovich and that group, and started going to the summit. I guess conferences is the right word.
Yeah.
And in 2014, they had a luncheon where they set tables up for each state or each large metropolitan area, whatever. And
Yep.
so a group of us sat down at the Kentucky table and decided we'd like to create a user group. And Kelly Gustafson was there, along with a few other folks. And that's kind of the initiation, the spark that allowed us to say we're going to do this. And we had our first meeting that year in December in Louisville, and so we've been going since December 2014. So I guess this is our 10-year anniversary. How
10-year
about
anniversary. That's awesome. That's the same year I got started.
Yeah.
I was started in really, it was the winter of 2013. And it was at a local meeting. They were already having a small local meeting in Colorado, and I took over the IT department at my company, and knew I wanted to get more involved in the community. And I showed up, and the person running it, Justin Carter.
Mm-hmm.
He was a partner, and at the time they didn't really want partners running it, but Justin's a great guy, and was willing to hold the fort until somebody came along, and he asked at the end, does anybody want to run this and manage this local group? And me and my workmate and a gentleman named Mike Perlick, who was at WhipMix. Mm-hmm. They're located out in Kentucky. They have a big plant out there close to the airport. Yeah. We all said, yeah, we'll give it a shot. So we each took like you said, took a piece and created a local group that we've kept thriving here for 10 years. It's been crazy to think it's been
Isn't
that long.
Amazing? Yeah. That's exciting.
What do you think the biggest benefit you get out of community? You sat down at the table, you've been going to meetings, but the local piece, like, what have you found is the biggest benefit over the course of now 10 years?
Well, I guess if you look at it from a business perspective, what's valuable to the business is the fact that there's a lot of folks out there who have done a lot of different things with this ecosystem, and you can learn a lot from them. If you've got a challenge or a problem, you can almost bet that somebody else has faced that problem or challenge before you, and they'll have lots of good nuggets of wisdom of what worked well and what doesn't work well, and just guidance about, well, have you thought about this, or you might want to talk to that group, or that kind of thing. So that, from my perspective, is the value from a business. From a personal perspective, I really value the relationships that I have made along the way. I mean, I consider a lot of the community, good friends, and that's important to me. And I enjoy being able to just like-minded individuals, right? You have something in common, and you have similar experiences, and just that camaraderie is important to me. I really enjoy that.
And I want to go back just quickly and point out, it's not just like, um, idle talk. I've personally solved issues in my business,
Hmm.
from connections I've made or from things I've attended at meetings, sessions I've attended. And I'm hearing that from
Hmm.
you as well, that it's not just, hey,
Yes.
we throw down some educational sessions and they're okay, but that people are taking back and not just taking the education they're getting, but also the connections they're making and turning those into opportunities to help each other out as well.
Absolutely. And it's there's real value in that, in being able to say, well, we haven't been able to get this to work, and how did you get it to work? And just
Hmm.
that sharing of information and sharing of experience, right? Maybe technically you did it right, but did you know that it did this, that, or the other in the background? So there's
Right.
lots
Yeah.
there's lots to know about it. It's a complex environment, and just leaning on others who have been there and done that before you.
Yep. And I love the personal side of I'm like this 100%, Connie, in life. I just, when I meet somebody, I feel like they're my best friend forever, and I just kind of carry that forward, whether or not they truly are, or have that same feeling back. I feel
Right.
that way, and the more people I meet in community, the more best friends. So I've got this large, expansive BFF group that I love, and it's invaluable to me, and not just getting to see folks and and connecting, but also being able to reach out or having them reach out to me when they need something, and being able to help them is rewarding. And I think it just again, it creates, it's what makes this community, I think, extra special. I don't know, I've not been a part of another like industry community like this. I've been in Dynamics, like it's been 20 plus years within a community, but I don't get the feeling there's like Salesforce, SAP has the same kind of mesh network of local activity. They got big giant conferences, but not this lower level piece that's going on where we are.
Yeah, the local piece definitely, I think, is one of the things that makes it special. And Kentucky is not that large a state. We've got, the Golden Triangle, which is Cincinnati, Louisville, and Lexington, but
Mhm.
there are customers, or I guess users, as far away as Owensboro. So we
Hmm.
generally will meet, if we meet in person, we'll meet in Lexington or Louisville, and once or twice we've made it all the way to Owensboro, but that's a long way for folks to go. We generally try to stay in the center of the state, and
Yeah,
um, and bounce back and forth.
I don't think it was last year. I think I went to the meeting at the Kentucky Lottery, which might have been 2020. It could have been 2023, actually.
Yeah, I think it
Yeah,
was.
I feel like it's been a long time. It was like way back in the early part of 2023, maybe.
It was our first in-person meeting after the pandemic. The
Yeah.
Kentucky Lottery folks were kind enough to allow us to use their facility to have that meeting there, and I was thrilled to get us all back together face to face again.
Yeah.
And of course they were wonderful hosts. They have a nice facility there. They brought in the lottery ball to
I got a
give
picture
out the
still. Yeah, I got my
yeah
picture of the lottery ball. I
yeah
went out to use the restroom, and he was just queuing up, or she, or whoever it was just queuing up to come in, and I got a pre-look and pre-picture with the lottery mascot. That was fun.
yeah. I really enjoyed that. That was a good way to kick us back into gear, right?
Yeah. And so, just your opinion on this, because there's still a debate. A lot of people are still doing virtual. A lot of folks are coming back in person. What's your feeling on virtual versus in person?
I guess I think there's a place for both. Personally, I prefer the in-person meetings because of that collaboration, that
Yeah.
ability to connect, right? Just being in the same room with somebody. But the truth is, not everybody has the time and the ability to travel. Let's say that you're in Louisville and we're meeting in Lexington, to travel an hour or whatever to get
Yeah.
to where we need to go. So, and oftentimes the folks who are presenting at the meeting, your experts, they can get on a virtual call and talk to you about their subject, but getting on a plane and flying to Kentucky is more
Yeah.
challenging. it's expensive for one thing, but it also you're spending what, an hour and a half to present your topic, but you spent 2 days getting there and going home.
Yeah, yeah.
So I guess there's both, right?
Yep. Once you've had a taste of virtual too, some folks kind of like that. It's like, hey, if I can just do this from home, I totally agree. I appreciate having you on with me, Connie. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy day to jump on. And I know you're doing it because it's community related and we didn't even talk about the fact, by the way, you didn't even ask me about my hat, which is awesome. You just kind of, know me well enough. It's like, yeah, it's Bobby. He's got a Viking hat on. Of course. I'm in the middle of like winter and, in my basement, it's like my office is in the basement. So it's, perpetually cold. And so I'm about at that stage where I was telling my workmates, it's onesie all the timesy now. I can put the pajamas on and just stay in them because it's cold down here. And even though I have a space heater and there is heat, it's just generally cold. So, Connie, anything else community-wise that we didn't touch on that you think might be important to get out there?
It's a worthwhile thing to be a part of, for you and for your organization. I would encourage, especially new users of any of the Dynamics products, to look out for the opportunity to get engaged, because you'll find there's a lot of value there. Well, thank you for inviting me to participate in this. I'm happy to be here. It's good to talk to you. I don't get to see you very often anymore, other than on LinkedIn and such. So I do enjoy participating in the community. I appreciate this opportunity to talk about that, and I hope you have a wonderful Christmas holiday.
Yeah, thank you. You too, Connie. I'm sure, hopefully I'll see you in person sometime soon. My intent is to get around and to bounce to a couple of meetings throughout the year next year. And I hope I can get Kentucky into that mix, because I had a blast when I was out there. You guys are a great community. So I'll be keeping my eye out on the meetups and to see where your in-person events are going to pop up. And again, thank you so much. And you as well have a wonderful holiday season.
All right, Bobby, you take care.
Yep, you too.